Yes,
Yes.
Okay. All right. With all that said, Mr. Osman, I'll let you begin by presenting your testimony first, sir.
Okay, Your Honor. I don't know where to start here. I guess I'm just gonna kind of start at the top here, the best that I can, to try to explain the the defendant here has filed a protective order against me before we have got here today. I don't feel I was allowed to explain my innocence during that hearing. I believe it was fraudulently obtained and used by her to obtain an unfair tactical advantage. No harm or unsafe situation ever occurred. She wrote it in her statement. She was in fear for her life from me, and I believe that is a lie. And because of her slandering my name without merit, her PFA was granted. Nothing exists as proof or evidence that she has ever been harmed in any way. I was unjustly removed from my home that I clearly own as stated on the deed because of her fraudulent accusations. She was able to weaponize the system against me. Her fraudulent case has been already decided much quicker than we have got here today, kind of unfairly, because of her meritless accusations. She's cost me my home and a way to make a living for myself. I believe this was done to ruin my career. She should be held liable for the damages and lost wages that this has caused me. She should be held.
Hey, Murray, we don't know. We've been checking on Snoopy. We've been trying to get a hold of him. You know what? Just as you said that, I realized I have his phone number. So why don't we go to this court and I'm gonna check in on him because there's been quite a few of us just wondering how he's been. And so I'll check. I'll text him and see how he's doing.
Responsible for her lies and damages she's called that she's caused, and she filed the restraining order in retaliation to being evicted from the residence. She has known for over 2.5 years that I no longer wanted her living there. She refused to leave after being served with eviction papers. She has no right to the property as her name is not on the deed or any lease. Her claim of common law marriage is not valid. We were never married. No marriage license exists. I nor her never intended to be married and never presented ourselves as married. I have several witnesses that know this is true. I have never wore a ring and I've never presented her as my wife. And I believe that she has, obtained this unfair advantage. She's also stolen money from my accounts with various apps without my permission. I believe I should be placed in sole control of the property, and her previous restraining order should be rescinded due to the false accusation.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Munn, what's your position on all of this, ma'am?
Well, Your Honor, that's
Well, and let me
quite
and
interesting.
before I go forward, forgive me. I didn't know if you had any questions you wanted to ask Mr. Osmet before giving your side of the case.
No. I understand there's been some things not told correctly. And so I am here. I'll kind of set the story straight, I guess.
Well, give me your perspective.
So, the last thing he said to me, he threatened my life whenever he left the house with his girlfriend. And I filed the PFA directly after that. Because I was in fear for my life. The last person that threatened my life stabbed me 16 times. So I do worry about that. He's pushed me down before. We've had altercations, but I never called the cops or anything like that. But this time when he threatened my life, I just felt it was a bit more serious. So I put the PFA on him. The PFA grants the plaintiff possession of the residence of how, or let me see, grants possession of the residence to the household or residence to the household to the plaintiff, excluding the defendant, and restrains the defendant from entering or remaining in the residence. and I was unable to send in court document, or I'm sorry, yeah, the PFA or the divorce papers, because the day after court last time, he maliciously turned the electricity off on me and my son on the coldest day of the year. So I had to come up with a bunch of money to get the electricity turned back on, because it was originally in my name, and then he took it out and put it in his name, and it had been in his name for about 3 months, and then he took it back out of his name, to try to leave me with no way to turn it back on. But I was able to get the electricity back on that day. So I apologize I wasn't able to send anything over. It took literally every last penny I had to get it back on. The PFA, that was not, I did not do any of this out of retaliation for anything. I'm just simply standing my ground, and I'm not taking his abuse anymore. And so that's why there's all these accusations flying over my head, which I expected. We have court for the PFA. See, he's in contempt of court right now. And we have court February 8th, I believe, because he missed the last court hearing. And then, of course, they're still waiting to serve him papers on the divorce.
Okay. And are the things you've explained happening in Butler County?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that, did you have anything that you wanted to bring in from your witness, Miss Munn?
Yeah, I have a witness, because throughout our history together, we've been together 16 years, technically, and we have introduced ourselves as husband and wife. He actually did have a ring on a little bit after we first got together, but to be honest, I wouldn't consider us married at that point, but he did wear a ring until I asked for it back when we broke up the first time. And we were apart for about 3 months and then got back together. But my witness here, she's seen us in Missouri about 12 years ago, I want to say, or 13 years ago, when we lived in Missouri, and also here in Butler County. And that we have presented ourselves as a husband and wife, and we've called each other husband and wife. And Lori's the one who has seen that happen. As long as Justin's friends have seen that. When we first went to Tennessee to meet his family, he introduced me as his wife, but I understand none of his friends are gonna, testify on my behalf. They'll testify for him, so I don't expect any of that.
Go ahead, Miss Munn.
All right, Lori, whenever you visited us in Missouri, and also came to visit in Andover, did we represent ourselves as a married couple, or would you have thought we were a married couple at that time?
Yes.
Have I ever spoke to you and called him my husband, or has Justin ever called me his wife?
Yes.
About how long do you think, between the time that you know of till now that we had a relationship?
From my knowledge, it's been since you were in that I can go back to when I met Justin back when you lived in Missouri. So from the time you were in Missouri till the time you've been in Butler County.
Okay. So a minimum of like 12, 13 years.
I mean, that's what I've known.
Sure.
I mean, I knew of you guys living in Rolla together too, but I didn't meet him until Missouri.
Right. And we lived in Rolla before Missouri. Well, was it before or after? I can't remember.
Both.
You're right. Well, that's really all I needed on your part, just to hear the third party, witness that we have called each other husband and wife, and we have lived as a married couple. And we bought the house 3 years ago. And were we together whenever we bought the house?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then I guess that's all my questions for now.
All right, Mr. Osmet, do you have any questions for Miss Deering?
I don't have any. No, Your Honor, I don't have any questions for
Yes,
Your
sir.
Honor. Is there any way I can call anyone?
Well, do you have someone that's available?
Yes, sir, I do.
I don't see anybody else on our meeting. Are they calling in right now?
Well, they're here with me now.
Oh, okay. Who is here with you? What's the person's name?
This would be my dad, Dwight Osment.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Osment. You can ask questions of your father.
Oh, all right. I guess, Dad, I just want to ask you, have you ever known in the entire time of me and her knowing each other, have we ever presented ourselves as married? No. Okay. And have I ever referred to her as my wife in any way or ever presented her as my wife in any way? No, sir. Okay, and um, I have one other person I'd like to call.
Okay, who's that?
That would be my girlfriend, Cynthia Blankenship.
All right. And Miss Blankenship, did you too raise your hand and swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. Go ahead. You can ask questions of her, Mr. Osment.
Okay, Cynthia. Do you know of any time that I have ever presented this woman as my wife at any point that you have ever known me?
No,
Have I ever implied that I was married to her?
Okay, so is he asking his girlfriend, has he ever presented this woman as his wife? That's probably not the best witness for him. She's not doing anything for herself. He's not doing anything for him. They're both kind of a mess. I think this whole video is worth it for the last 15 seconds. I think this whole video makes it up.
That I ever intended to marry her?
no.
That's all, Your Honor.
All right. Miss Munn, do you have any questions either for Dwight Osment or Miss Blankenship?
No, they know what's true and what's not. I'm okay.
All right. Well, give me a little bit to review the file. And then, like I said, if either of you have closing statements when we return, we can hear those and then I'll make a decision from there. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that. I had a computer issue on my end. In any event, I think both of you had told your sides of the story very ably. And it seems that there are a lot of moving parts. It seems that, there are claims of a threat and an outright avowal that no such thing ever happened. And there's accusations of use of the legal system to attain tactical or unfair tactical advantage. But I don't think this court has to or should address issues concerning the marriage or any protection issues, because I think that this single question of the eviction is, at least at this snapshot in time, resolvable through the prism of just the document, which speaks to that issue. Mr. Osment referenced the deed that he had submitted to the court, explaining that from his perspective, that would have shown sole ownership, and that at that point, the eviction should be allowed to go forward. I think that, and I believe I had pointed this out at the time of our last hearing, that the deed in question has a meets and bounds description, but it also has a mailing address, and the mailing address is, and since the petitioner is relying on the deed as sort of being the cornerstone document of the presentation, and in as much as it does have that discrepancy in it, I'm going to deny the petition for eviction at this time. That doesn't mean, Mr. Osment, that you might not refile that at a later point, that there might be something to resolve any ambiguity, at least that this court finds in the document. But at this time and under those circumstances, the court is denying the motion.
Thank you, Judge.
And there's nothing to follow. There's not, I can't, is there anything else I can say?
At this point, not in the context of this case, that doesn't preclude your filing of other pleadings in before this court or potentially in the other matters that are pending here in Butler County. But at least with respect to this question at this time, those are indeed my findings.
Okay. So I just need to prove that it's a typo on the document and it should say west instead of east.
Well, I don't mean to tell you how to run your case. I'm just noting that there is that discrepancy in the document. And I believe I had noted that at the time of our last hearing as well. And so that's the rationale for my finding.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Oh, son of a bit.
You should probably mute before you curse me.
Thank you for your time, Judge. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That made the whole video worth it for me. I love landlord tenant stuff. I love the little nuances of the court, but that guy calling the judge's name right at the end just kind of let out his frustration and gave the judge an opportunity to get a little bit of relief in there. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thank you for sticking it out. We've got a surprise coming early Monday. We're not going to be able to tell anybody till Monday, but everybody's going to be happy with the surprise, especially Nancy. I think Nancy's going to be the most happy out of anybody for it. But we've got some Thurston County, Judge Simpson, Judge Middleton, and also have a Judge Boyd from a while back from People in Court, a video I watched of hers, and it was really entertaining. I thought you guys would like it, but let's jump in Thurston County real quick.
Why you said you don't want to negotiate. You'd say there's nothing to negotiate here. We're doing the right thing for Dad. So we're going to have a conversation about this. My review of the information that I saw in the file, evidence of that.
Yeah, I've got to jump in and just mention that the one that Kathy had today was just pure awesome. Thank you, Critter, for mentioning that. It was everybody needs to go check that out on Court Vibes. She had a great wild debacle with lawyers and real estate agents and stuff. So y'all need to go check that out. We're gonna start this one back up. Let's go here.
All right.
Okay. So I don't know if you picked up on it. The message I was trying to send when I was talking about I'm only limited to doing money damages in these cases, and I can't order something like don't possess firearms or return firearms or those sorts of things.
Yes, sir.
It was directed at the situation here. My assessment of it is that you took your dad's 11 firearms because of the stroke that he had and your concerns for his safety and the safety of others.
Well,
and I mean, I assume that's the general basis for it.
Actually, when he started having health problems, he offered them to me and wanted me to have them. And so for the second time, actually, there was 2 times this happened. And the very first time when he moved out into a nursing home, he gave me the guns. He wanted me to have them. He even said, I can't lift them. And I'm just, my health is failing. I can't use them. So he gave them to me. And then a year later, he started having health problems again. He gave them to me again. And I have witnesses. And then he has gone above and beyond to discredit me and to try I can't even. I'm going to try my best not to lose it here, Your Honor, but
it's heartbreaking.
This has been a rough one.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Okay, so if the issue is you're holding your dad's weapons or guns because you have a concern for his ability to safely possess them, which was my interpretation of reading the things that had been filed. That's one thing. If what you're saying is that you believe you have the right to the weapons, even though your father wants them back, and it has nothing to do with the safety issue, that you have some legal right to them, that's potentially a claim. I mean, that's a legal case. We could talk about that.
It's kind of both, Your Honor, honestly. It really is. So when he originally gave me the guns, I had them for probably 8 months. And then all of a sudden he called me and was like, I want my guns back. And he was mad he thought it was my fault that he got his driving privileges taken away and all this stuff. So he wanted his guns back. At that time, Adult Protective Services had been called multiple times on him. The neighbors were calling because of him lighting fires and acting irrational. His landlord was calling me and asking me if I could get them out of there because they were being so like erratic with the neighbors. I mean, it was just over and over. And then I told him, Dad, I don't feel comfortable putting guns back in your house right now, even though you gave them to me. And then a few days later, he called the police on me and said that I broke into his house and stole them. The cop called me, and it was the same the same officer that had been to his house multiple times, from the neighbors calling. His stepchildren called the police one time because they felt like he was abusing and neglecting his wife. And
hospice.
And hospice was there asking me, there's no guns in the house, because he was being very obsessive over guns, talking about reloading bullets. And so I just said at the time, Dad, let's talk about this later. Like, I don't feel comfortable putting guns back in your house, even though they were a gift. And I have multiple witnesses that saw him give them to me as a gift. But he's promised me the guns my whole life. That's why
I had to jump in there and say thank you, Fozzie. Thank you, Fozzie. It's kind of odd that you got both kamikaze and pilot on the gifted memberships. I don't know how you found that one, so thank you, Fozzie.
uploaded 3 of his wills it says there I want you to have them. I know that he can change his will whenever he wants. That's not what I'm trying to say. But then, so the cop called me and was like, I appreciate you not putting guns back in the house. So then what was it, a month maybe went by?
When he filed the case, it was 6 months later.
Was it a few months later? Then he walked into the Lacey Police Department and said, Daniel broke into my house in the middle of the night and stole my guns. He's had like 4 or 5 different lists of guns. There's been like 4 guns, 8 guns, 15 guns, 21 guns. He's gotten 3 lawyers against me. All 3 of them dropped his case. One of them told them they were gonna turn him into Adult Protective Services because of his behavior. This has been the most horrible year of my life. My wife and I have spent over a decade caring for him, taking care of him, doing everything for paying all of his bills, doing grocery shopping for him, cooking for him. You name it. All the services that he has set up in his house, hospice, VA. We did that. We got dial-a-lift. We did all of that. I took him to all of his appointments, dozens and dozens and dozens of appointments. Trying not to get too worked up here. He has posted all over Facebook how I'm a red flag law, he's a risk. He's called the police. He's called my entire family, all of my step siblings, and told them that how dangerous I am, how horrible I am, how I broke into his house. They don't even talk to him anymore because of it. My sister has been here through this whole entire thing. She's seen everything. She was either here in person or has had personal conversations with him. I mean, this is the most. I don't even know what to say. I just can't even fathom this anymore.
Hey, let me interrupt. So have you contemplated getting guardianship?
We've discussed it, but I just don't know. I don't want to take his rights away from him. I've only tried to do what's right for him. And I
Okay.
I feel.
Okay, so we're gonna have to, let me have you raise your right hand. Mr. Nicholson, do you swear that testimony in this case to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you just told me that your father gave you the weapons as a gift.
Yes,
That
sir.
is, your belief is that he had no expectation that the weapons were going to ever be returned to him. Is that your position?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so even though the wills refer to him or you getting the weapons upon his being deceased, you're maintaining that in fact he gave you the weapons without having to activate the provision in the wills. Is that your position?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Nicholson in court, Mr. Ronald Nicholson, your
Yes,
son
that's
says that you
correct.
gave him a gift of the weapons.
No.
Okay, tell me how he got your
Okay,
weapons.
the guns were going to be given to him through my will upon my death. The reason that he got the guns in the first place was because I was moving into a place called Patriots Landing, which does not allow weapons.
My mom lived at Patriots.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with it.
And so I had to have a place to put the guns. So I asked him if he wouldn't temporarily
Actually,
keep the guns at his house.
I'm sorry, sir, why don't you raise your right hand? Let me swear you in.
Oh,
You swear the testimony in this case will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so I got to say, I was at Patriots Landing. I couldn't keep the guns there. So I wanted to keep the guns safe from somewhere. And so I chose his house. They were going to be given to him upon my death, not upon my life. Or I was going to die first before I give him the guns. That was the stipulation, and that's what my will said. Although that has been changed because I am fearful that he is going to have guns. He has a phobia when it comes to weapons. I've asked him to do counseling and a whole bunch of other stuff, but he won't do it. At least I don't think he has. Anyway, so the process of me acquiring these guns, there's nothing wrong. Well, I have a here from my doctor. I have two doctors that said that my first doctor, her name was Rachel Carlin. She was not a VA doctor, but my geriatric doctor and my the stroke doctor. I can't think of his name right now. I mean, his name is Dr. Bright, but I can't think of what you call those doctors.
You're a neurologist.
Neurologist, yeah. Oh, thank you. Anyway, they gave me a clean bill of health. Said I'm just as sane as anybody else. I don't need to worry about. He gave me back my car. He wasn't going to keep. The reason he had my guns in the first place was because I'd went to bed early that night. About over a year ago, I waited a year to file this because I wanted him to come to his senses, but he didn't. And so in the process of doing that, I ended up, how should I put this? Anyway, I ended up trying to get my guns from, well, let's put it this way. The doctor said I'm cured from the stroke. I have no problem with the stroke whatsoever, nothing. I have no qualms whatsoever. My geriatric doctor and the neurologist have said that everything's fine. In fact, they gave me to get my driver's license back, he had me take from a speech therapist. I had to memorize 2 10-word. They were twice they did this. What she did, she would tell a story.
Right, you don't have to describe that.
Okay, good. Well, anyway.
Okay, so it's your position that you you asked your son to hold your guns. Your position is you didn't give them to him.
Correct. I didn't give him his guns.
Okay, and are you still residing at Patriots Landing?
Pardon me?
Are you still living at Patriots Landing?
No, I'm not. I moved out of there. I couldn't handle it. I post-traumatic stress syndrome took over. I didn't sleep for 5 days. So I had to get out. I had 3 psychiatrists tell me, get out of that place because of all the deaths. And I had two buddies of mine that were in the Battle of Incheon. They're Marines, and that affected my brain big time. And so I had to leave, and I bought a trailer, a park in Lacey, at a trailer park in Lacey, and I've been happy there ever since.
Okay.
And my wife has since died, about 6 months ago. But my judgment is that the guns were not his to begin with. Upon my death, I was going to give him, but I don't want him to have those guns now because his phobia with those guns.
Okay.
I've willed the guns to my grandson because I'm afraid of him having these guns. His phobia, his actions, his constant lies. He lied to me about hospice, not allowing guns. Well, that was a complete fabrication. He's lied to the police officer. He lied to his sister. He lied to his brother. He lies all over the place just to keep the guns.
Okay.
And I tried not to interfere in that, not around, with his brothers and sisters. But he's just too much for me. But he lies to me, and when I caught him in his lie, because hospice said there's no such thing as that. I even talked to the manager over that, the head nurse over that situation, and she said, no, there's nothing like that.
Are you still on hospice care?
Pardon me?
Are you still on hospice care?
No, I'm not. That was my wife. She had that hospice.
Okay, all right.
She had it for over a year.
Right, okay. All right, thank you.
I'm not sure if you want to speak to my sister, but she was in the waiting room and she got kicked out, but she's on standby if you'd like to talk to her.
If I was in your position, Daniel Nicholson, I would have done the exact same thing. So I understand the instinct there. My dad fought in Korea, and he had he had a Chinese rifle. He had a pistol.
My dad has threatened suicide. I mean, it's
right. Okay. My point here being, I understand what you did. As I said, I would do the same thing, but that's different than a legal authority. The argument that he gave them to you as a gift, your dad's arguing with that. He says, no, just give them to hold. The evidence of that, people saying, yeah, it looks like it was a gift, but I'm not convinced that your father was able to discern the difference between gift and not at the time the guns are going back into your possession. So I'm not comfortable saying they were indeed a gift and he waived all his rights to any possession of them. Bottom line is, this looks like it was an attempt by you to keep your father safe and others safe, and you did it out of the goodness of your heart, trying to be protective of him.
I just thought about it. I was trying to think about what I would do in my family in that situation. If it's some old war relics or something like that, it's really easy to make a gun inoperable. And so if you're worried about giving a gun to an old family member, that's just having it as a relic, not, they're not trying to protect their home with it. They're not using it for personal protection. It's just a memory for them. You can easily make that firearm unusable. So it's no longer a weapon. It'd be dangerous to do that to somebody who uses a firearm for protection. But I think it's in a situation like this right here, I just remove the firing pin and give it back to Dad. Um, you're gonna remember the hard times. You're gonna remember the bad feelings when he's long and gone, and that's not worth it to hold on to. So um, just pull the firing pins on it, give it to Dad, and hug him and spend his remaining days together.
He's appearing before me. Your dad found his way to the courthouse. He filed this claim, and he appears competent at this moment in time.
So
You know,
I do have one
okay.
question.
Yeah, well, hold on just a second.
Okay, go ahead.
So I don't find any legal basis. If you're next room available,
I have someone that, yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Someone, like,
Mr. Whitehead and Mr. Leva. And Mr. Leva isn't here, just Mr. Whitehead.
I'll be trying.
So there's no legally, I don't find that I can decide the case in Daniel Nicholson's favor. If your dad wants the weapons back, he gets the weapons back based on, I don't see that he lacks competency appearing today. That's not the result I want, because I don't want to read about in the paper something happening. The option you have is getting a guardianship and then being able to make those decisions. And, I recognize the difficulties that's going to be with your dad appearing competent right now. There may be an unwillingness on the part of a court to grant a guardianship. This is a problematic case. And the only thing I can't order the return of the weapons. As I said, this is only about a money judgment. Your dad hasn't given me any evidence as to the value of the weapons.
The guns that he listed, I don't even have them.
So I don't have any.
I wrote in the form $9,000. That's my estimate. That's the scopes and the rifles and everything.
Yeah, but there has to be a basis for that besides just being an estimate. I don't have any catalogs. I don't have any pricing.
Well, yeah, you can't do that. It's just strictly what I paid for them, basically.
Your Honor,
they're all retail. It's retail.
One thing.
Yeah. So
the list that he provided, there's only a few on that list that I actually have.
He's gotten rid of guns over the years. I think he doesn't remember.
Yeah. So this is part of the problem. And I've tried to explain to him, because at first there was 4 guns that he wanted, or 5, maybe. He sent an email and I'm like, okay.
How many do you have, Mr. Nicholson?
I think there's 7, one of which he gave me as a Christmas gift 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that are on that list.
There's a total list of the guns that are, well, here.
Yeah, but that's
not accurate.
It's not accurate.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 guns.
There's another list that I uploaded where there's like 17. And then there's another list that
Okay. All right. So Daniel Nicholson, in your actual possession, you say you have 6. Is that right? Okay. And
he's got them at home.
And Ronald Nicholson, your son, said you gave him one of the weapons as a Christmas gift. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
But that was a separate gun. These 12 guns are the ones that he took out of my safe. The other guns I gave to him.
Okay.
I gave him all his guns except for that AR.
Yeah, that's another thing. I don't know if you looked at his letters, but he's writing on there that I have a weapon of war, M16. He called me on the phone, Your Honor, and said he's going to get the FBI to break into my house and report me as a red flag.
Well, he also said in the court today, while we were waiting,
he said if this doesn't go in his favor, he's coming to my house next. We literally do not answer the door because we're fearful of our lives. He's made threats. He has.
And he said he's bringing reporters to our house.
Yeah, he's bringing reporters to our house. I'm actually I'm a public figure in my community, and he has been trying to discredit me every which way. I had to block him on Facebook because he was posting my name and address all over Facebook and telling them and just writing that I broke into his house, and then I'm a potential school shooter.
I don't even have Facebook.
That's not truthful, Keith.
Okay, yeah, okay, folks. Hey, we've gone way beyond the limits of what this proceeding is I thought we might if we open this door, but we have to have this conversation since the case was filed.
I just don't know what to do. I mean, even
Okay.
if I give him his guns back, it's never going to be enough because he thinks that I have something that I don't.
Right. What everybody here, both parties are seeking is a resolution from the court where I don't think there is a resolution that's possible here. The easiest thing, the way you get a most complete resolution here is if you are able to get a guardianship. Without a guardianship, your dad is appearing in front of me, and Mr. Nicholson appearing in front of me, has the ability to make his own decisions. And we typically, and then you can report your concerns, which would be legitimate about his ability to have these weapons.
Of course. And I hit the mute button, it just didn't work. So Biggin had a good question. Why'd they take his guns? Dad gave the son some guns. The son had some of his dad's guns for a temporary time, and then dad wants the guns back, and dad's getting older, has a little bit of dementia, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so the son doesn't feel comfortable giving the guns back. He feels as dad gave it to him as a gift, and he doesn't feel safe to give them back. Well, the dad feels he's great. He didn't give them to the son. The son can have them when he dies. Problem is, he's asking for more guns than what he's physically got, as he's lost some over the years, and so it's just a mess back and forth. You got father and son. You know, they obviously love each other, but this is going to split them up and divide them. And soon enough, the father's going to be gone, and son's going to be wishing he would have handled it different.
And put him on the law enforcement list is something they should be aware of. But that's the process that, the legislature has set up for how to handle these situations. You have the right to seek a protection order, which is a separate process than this, to tell your dad he can't come to your house if there's a concern there, and those are the types of things. That's how the legal process is set up. It's wholly inadequate to address a very real concern that you have. I am very sympathetic to that concern. But my sympathy for that concern doesn't allow me to ignore what the law is here. So I would find that other than the weapon that you indicate your dad gave you as a gift, he's entitled to the other weapons. He hasn't given me a good basis for assessing the dollar amount that I would.
I will say that probably half of the 6 guns that I do have, I'm not even sure if they work because they're really old. I mean, they're not antique old. They're just old, crappy guns.
Right. Do you have any ammunition?
No.
Does your dad have any ammunition?
No.
Yeah, he loads his own bullets.
Oh, does he? At home? Yes. He's loading bullets at home. He has ammunition at home. He has guns at home.
He's went and bought guns since this.
Okay. So your dad possessing firearms he's possessing them now. He just has different weapons than the weapons you have. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. So the safety issue exists whether you keep the weapons or not keep the weapons. It sounds like he already has weapons on his own.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. When this thing first started, and he called me and he said he wanted his guns back. And I told him, hey, let's just hold off for now. You know, there was so many things happening at that time with, like I already stated before, and plus my stepmom was on hospice, and there was just a lot going on. Plus I had the police officer call me and ask me not to. And hospice asked me not to. So if he would have just let it go and let time go by, and then I saw him maybe recovering, things might have been different. But he immediately went and said that I broke into his home, which
Yeah, we've been through this, and
yeah,
you know, one of the things you'll hear from me and probably any other judges, we can't really stop what people say about somebody else.
Yeah.
That's, you know, if you're a public figure, if you appear on Facebook, you know, people are going to say stuff about you, and courts don't make it a habit of intervening in that. So we try to stay away from that. There's not much that can happen there.
I
just have to develop, you know, people say bad stuff about me all the time, and I just have to turn a deaf ear to it.
I hear you.
So I can't address those concerns. You know, I have the safety concern, but it's interesting to me now to find out that in fact your dad's safety concern is kind of moot because your dad already has weapons and ammunition, it sounds like, apart from the weapons that you possess of his.
Yeah. I haven't actually seen it, but I just know that he's
told, because
mentioned it.
he said that he bought them, then he said that he sold them. So
Yeah.
we don't know if he physically has them right now, because he's told his Dan's sister both stories.
Yeah. I mean,
He's telling me he has. You have weapons at home?
I'm sorry.
You have weapons at home?
Yes, I do.
yeah, I've never seen them.
Take it to the range.
I don't know what he has.
I take the guns to a range and fire them at a range, at a target.
When was the last time you went to the?
About a month ago.
All right.
When it's not raining.
I can't speak to that. I have no idea. I mean, I've tried to communicate with him over this, but all I ever get is him calling me names, and it just devolved. I mean,
is there any member of your family that you know, serves as an intermediary?
His sister tried.
my sister.
Successfully, you think?
No, like she's tried over and over again, and he just doesn't. It doesn't compute.
Okay.
I don't know how to resolve this, and I've tried to. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, how do he's very obsessive compulsive, and
yeah. We don't want to sort of keep throwing logs on the fire here. I've listened to
that's fine.
what's going on. I pursuant to this process to weigh in on. So applying the law, I'm not convinced that your dad understood that he was giving you weapons as a gift with the expectation they would never be returned to him. It seems to me, I will make a finding that they were given to you to hold during periods of difficulties in his life. He appears competent now and has demanded their return, and I have obligated to find judgment for his favor. As I said, I cannot order the return of the weapons pursuant to this process, but I can assess the dollar damage. I have not been presented any specific facts as to the value of the weapons, so I will just assign just minimal acknowledgement financially of the weapons. So Mr. Daniel Nicholson indicates that he currently has 6 of the weapons that there was a list of 12 or 11 that Ronald Nicholson presented to the court. I'm satisfied that the current possessor of those weapons knows the exact number. He says it's 6. And I will assess damages just based on them having some intrinsic value of $100 per weapon. So that'll be a judgment in core of $600 for Ronald Nicholson against Daniel Nicholson, plus the $50 filing fee, a total of $650. And so as a result of this proceeding, Daniel Nicholson, you owed Ronald Nicholson $650. And that's all I can do in this case. All right.
I appreciate your time.
Okay, and good luck to, all of you. I hope eventually you can achieve some peace here, and have kind words to say about each other. I'll just tell you, your dad, while he's sitting here in front of me, it appears, Mr. Nicholson, that your son is doing this out of love for you. He's not doing it to take advantage of you. So that's just my assessment. You don't have to try to tell me different. I'm just telling you, listening to both of you, that's how I feel.
Okay, no problem.
All right, here's your judgment form right here, sir. All right, thank you all very much.
I would be the maddest person ever if they got assessed at $100 a piece for firearms. But this guy's I don't know about the son. I don't like the son. He impugned his dad's character quite a few times. He made some accusation towards his dad, even if the dad was absolutely out of his mind. There's no reason to bring up that the dad was threatening to file red flag laws on you. I looked that up a little bit. The red flag laws. What those are is, if you feel a family member is not safe, you can report them, and they'll look at it, and if they're not safe, they'll make arrangements to remove the firearms from that person and remove the firearms from that home. If you've got somebody that's in dementia or out of their mind that turns you in on that, let them, because the system is supposed to work a certain way, and they're not gonna listen to them. They're gonna follow the process and go to that route. I don't know. The son just irritated the hell out of me. The dad I liked. He's at the end of life, and just write it out. There's no way in the world I'd let something like that stay between me and my dad right at the end of his life like that. But it is what it is. Son gets to pay $650, and I guarantee you that the dad's going to think he still got gypped out, because there's no way it was only worth $650. Let's jump in and look at hold on a second. Yes, absolutely, Fozzie. And someone had mentioned that with dementia, one day they may be good and one day they may not be good. I like the dad. The dad was great to me, but they were. I guess guardianship's the right word. Someone had mentioned the guardianship. It would be good if somebody could do some assessment that wasn't in the mix there. I don't know what the wife. I don't know what she had to add to the hearing at all. So. But I don't know. Let's go jump at Judge Simpson. He's always a good way to clean it.
And on behalf of Washington, who is approaching the podium, please state your name for the record, sir.
Levante Washington.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. As to the probable cause conference, we are respectfully requesting a very brief adjournment. And we do understand that Mr. Washington was asked to be in person today because of the progress report that was sent out. And we also willing to address that one, whoever the court would like.
Why don't you go ahead and address that?
So as the court is aware, Community Corrections did send out a progress report. Mr. Washington did test positive on both 1227 and 1230 for cocaine. He did already send out the 1227 sample to the lab for confirmation. We have not yet received the results from the lab one way or another. He does plan on, after court today, appearing in Community Corrections to have his most recent test sent out for confirmation from the lab. He had planned on doing that today in any event. However, as to the progress report, we're asking the court to hold it in abeyance until we get those lab confirmations back, whether or not that was a positive test. Mr. Washington does deny any use. He is here today with his mother, who I have also had the opportunity to speak with. He resides with his mother, and his mother also says she doesn't know him using. Of course, she's not with him all the time. However, Mr. Washington does deny use. That's why he sent it out to the lab. So we're just asking the court to hold this in abeyance until we get that confirmation one way or another.
And then if it comes back positive, what do you think I should do?
I would ask that be addressed at that time.
So you just don't want me to lock him up today?
Certainly not today, Your Honor. Mr. Washington appeared knowing that that was quite frankly a possibility. He's staying on top of this, continued to test even after he did get that positive result, went to Community Corrections and paid the $30 to have that sent out.
You going to have a test today?
Yes, he's appearing. He is going to go to community corrections after court today to have his test from the 30th sent out, and I believe also to be tested again.
Why do I have the feeling I'm not being told the truth? I've got 2 tests back to back with cocaine. So let me ask this question. If I send you over today and I get those results immediately, is anything going to show up in your system?
No, Your Honor.
Pardon?
No, Your Honor. Like I say, I got a lot of stuff going on for myself. This is not the only. This is probably the least case that I'm worried about. I'm on GPS tether. I don't have no reason to run or no reason to not show up and come back to court.
That's all fine. I'm more worried about your use at this point.
Oh no, I don't use at all. I'm not trying to pit everything out on the line. If we can speak privately, then I'll be able to tell you exactly what's going on, but I don't want to pit everybody on Front Street. That's it, in the courtroom.
So, did you read over that progress report?
Me?
Yeah, because I'm getting a lot of people that are amoebas.
Yes, I did read over the progress.
They're absorbing cocaine. And I'm not sure how that happens. Young lady appears at community corrections, said, I smoked it around him. That must be how he's testing positive. You believe that? You believe, hold on, no. You believe that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Really?
That's the truth.
Council Pro, you might want to just be quiet, because the thing I don't like a lot are people that aren't telling me the truth. Because you can go play your game anyplace else. You're not playing it here with me. Council approach. Anything else you want to say?
Nothing.
Yeah, I'll give him one shot. You want to tell me? I mean, from what I understand, he comes over from another place. He's in our jail, gets out, and is saying he wasn't using. I got 2 tests. I
understand that, Your Honor. I would just reiterate my request to hold this in abeyance until the lab confirmation comes back one way or another, and to address it at that time. If in fact the lab confirms that it was a positive result, I would ask for that, Your Honor, and I have nothing further to add. But except that Mr. Washington, I do truly believe will be in attendance to its next future court date.
I'm not so much worried about his attendance. I'm worried about his using and then lying to me. That's what I'm worried about. And then getting other people wrapped up lying. You're not an amoeba. It's not going to be in your system for 6 days, at least, in this way. Anything else?
Nothing further from me, Your Honor.
I'll grant the adjournment, and maybe, I would have normally, under most circumstances, put it out 2 weeks, but I'll put it out 1 week to the 9th, 2025, 9 a.m. At this point, however, the defendant's bond is revoked. Defendant's remanded. February 13th, 2025, 10 a.m. before Judge Washington. Bond continued.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will instruct my client to contact probation department 14B.
All right.
Judge, may I have police report back?
Yeah. Do what you gotta do.
Judge, I thought you'd be in a little better mood tomorrow.
I am in a fine mood. Thank you, Mr. Kilowald. You just keep trying to spoil it. Get him out of my well. I'm trying. Just give him his little papers back. Go, just go. Is that your last day?
Yes, I'm out of here.
Okay, good. Now I'll be in a great mood.
Happy New Year, Judge.
And to you, Mr. Kilowald. Oh, no, but Pellinger's gonna come up. He's gonna just.
I would love one of my cases to be called, Your Honor. That'd be great.
Put it at the bottom.
Oh, come on.
Court calls the case, People versus Thomas Rascal. Yeah, I know what you're trying to say.
Special for the people. Your Honor, Alexis Plumai, Assistant Public Defender, appearing with and on behalf of Mr. Rastall, who is approaching. Could you state your name?
Thomas Ross.
Thank you, sir.
And
You're requesting an adjournment?
yes, Your Honor, we are requesting an adjournment of about 2 weeks. We're still waiting for Mr. Rastall's screening to be completed with the Washtenaw County Treatment Court out of 14A4. It's been 3 weeks since he was referred, so I'm hoping an additional 2 weeks it'll be done by then.
Which court?
It's Judge Freshour's treatment court. I think it's called Washtenaw County Treatment Court.
Okay.
And Your Honor,
You think too? Okay.
I would like to address bond if I could.
Of course you would.
So, Your Honor,
You do adjourn it, or you want to address bond, or you just want to keep talking?
can we do both?
Whatever you want to do. Go ahead.
Okay, so why don't we get the new date and then?
Okay, let's do that. Boy, she is.
I'm sorry, Your
She
Honor.
is awful bossy. Probable cause conference. You think 2 weeks will be enough time?
I mean, 5 weeks to get the screening done. I hope that would be.
I don't know what the holdup would be. Let's try to be, let me give you, I'll give you the 16th. See where we're at.
Okay.
9 a.m. Yes, that's the bond.
Your Honor, with regards to bond, I am asking the court to consider a personal bond for Mr. Rastall. His bond was revoked 3 weeks ago on December 12th for a bond violation for a positive drug test. At that hearing, Mr. Rastall took accountability for that. He came to court knowing that it was incredibly likely that he would be remanded. He's expressed to me a genuine interest in treatment court and in his sobriety going forward. He has reliable.
Counsel,
Yep.
if I were to let him out, what would be in place that would allow his sobriety to happen?
Your Honor, he would be doing the screening for treatment court. He doesn't have treatment set up, but what I was going to mention was that the reason he's requesting to be out in part is because he was scheduled for a major dental procedure on the 13th. He's afraid that if he misses that appointment, he'll lose the funding for it. He was due to have many teeth extracted and get fitted with dentures. That's something that's causing him a lot of pain. And he also states that he hasn't had access to all of his medications for his glaucoma while he's in the jail. So he would really like to get home. He has his own apartment. He's got reliable transportation, reliable contact information. He could do the screening out of custody. I understand the court's concern with regards to not having treatment set up yet, but again, just asking the court to consider a personal bond.
We already did that though, didn't we?
Yes.
And that didn't work too well.
Yeah.
Response.
Your Honor, we were here on the 12th and defense counsel asked for early screening at that time, and the court wanted the defendant to be screened first. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Unfortunately, with the variety of substances, don't know that we can have testing conditions sufficient to ensure public safety in people's minds. I would say that when Mr. Grouse is screened by Mr. T, which I think I'm surprised it's not already been done, frankly, because he's very quick. especially when he knows people are in custody, which you did know at the last time you were here, I believe, if I recall correctly. If he screens Mr. Rassel and then want to get a stip in order together for residential treatment or inpatient treatment, the people would be very happy to consider at that time a stipulation.
I'm trying to get outpatient. All right.
Understood, Your Honor.
All right. So motion for bond reductions tonight. Bond will continue.
All right, that's the end of that one. We got a Judge Middleton one, and then let's get Judge Middleton. We'll see what we got next after that. It may be about time to end the show, but let's see what Judge Middleton's got.
Earlier this month on a disturbing the peace. These charges are significantly more serious. It's alleged that on or about December 20th in the city of Three Rivers, did carry or possess butane, an explosive or combustible substance with the intent to damage or destroy property without permission of the property owner, and did damage property belonging to Goodwill Industries. It's a felony punishable by up to 20 years imprisonment and a fine of up to $15,000.
Your Honor, that was on December 29th.
Oh, December 29th. Yes, I'm sorry. Count 2, did being a person 18 years or older possess methamphetamine within 1,000 feet of a school, which is a 20-year felony. I have not seen that charged this year, I don't think. Count 3, arson, preparation to burn. Did arrange, place, devise, or distribute an inflammable, combustible, or explosive material, liquid, substance, or device at or near Goodwill Industries with the intent to commit arson of property having a value of $20,000 or more. Officers were dispatched to a large fire behind the Goodwill store. And there's video of someone they believe to be you. Wow, setting this fire. Damaging a truck. You had some methamphetamine in your possession when they arrested you. Mr. Hasselkuss, are you on bond in any other jurisdiction?
Yeah.
Elkhart?
Did you say St. Joe?
Saint, all right. Are you still homeless?
Yeah.
And you said you're on bond from where?
St. Joe.
I don't think he is. The only case that I'm showing is the one that he
owes money on.
Right.
Well, then the praxis is not right. All right. Miss Deborah Davis, the soon-to-be prosecutor, is here. She wanted to give input on this. Miss Davis?
Right, I've been in contact with Three Rivers Police Department, who have been investigating this issue, and they are very concerned about the safety of the community with this individual. Most recently, at the beginning of December, he was charged with using a baseball bat to hit the backside of a car of an individual. That was the case that he came in and ended up pleading to disturbing the peace. Didn't really have a great explanation for why he did that. I thought they were laughing at him or talking about him or something.
Yes.
And, you know, I had some concerns about him at that point. So when this came in and we start looking at the details, this could have been extremely serious as far as but for the security company from one of the neighboring businesses having a good monitoring system, that an individual called in from Detroit directly to the fire department, and the fire department was able to get dispatched out there much more quickly than usual and get it under control. But the butane that he is alleged to have used and admitted to using and burning these pallets that were up next to the building creates a very dangerous situation for the community and for all the firefighters and personnel that need to be out there to take care of that. He didn't really have any qualms about telling the officers that he had done it, didn't really have a reason, which is concerning. And then the methamphetamine being at the soup kitchen where he was found within, about 500 feet of Ruth Hoppen Elementary. And he didn't mention anything about having that. It was then found on his person when he was threatening to swallow it in the police car. I think he's got some pretty significant issues going on right now. And the fact that he is homeless, doesn't have anywhere to go, and this is the second crime that he's committed in this month, I think for public safety reasons and to ensure that he appears and is clean and sober for the proceedings, I would ask that the court set a high bond, no 10% option, and that he be outfitted with a GPS monitor. Thank you.
Mr. Westcomb, anything you wish to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Given all the things that the prosecutor has mentioned about these charges, they are severe charges, and I would just like the court to consider the fact that the defendant here is homeless and has access to very limited amounts of resources, and to consider his lack of resources when setting bond. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hasselkuss, I dealt with you earlier this month, that incident where you broke the taillight out of that car with a bat because you thought people were laughing at you. Maybe they were, I don't know. But anyway, it was upsetting to you. And I could tell at that point that there were some mental health issues, but I didn't really delve into it. I just let you out of jail and gave you a fine and time to pay it. Maybe it needed more attention than that. This is scary and frightening and makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. According to the video, you stacked those skids or pallets up there, put stuff on it, lit it with a butane torch, and caught a semi on fire that burned up, doing substantial damage. And only because of somebody else's security, that whole strip mall would have burned up all the way down to probably Bigby Coffee. That would have been the biggest fire in Three Rivers in the last 100 years. We're gonna need to get some probably mental health involvement here, but this is very frightening. There's no reason for it. Great risk of public harm. And I'm gonna set bond at $100,000 cash or surety. The public safety implications of this case are very large. As a practical matter, as Mr. Westcomb said, you don't have very many resources, but I asked you this when I saw you earlier this month. Where are your people? Where's your family?
It's just me.
Where do your parents live? All right. Much as mental illness and a combination of both, but there's a great public safety risk. So I'm going to set the bond conditions at no drugs and no alcohol, no weapons, no assaulty behavior, and pretrial supervision, including GPS tether, if you do bond out, which is not likely. But that's by for your safety and the safety of the public right now, the best place for you to be is where you are. Perhaps there could be some other sort of mental health placement. Yet to be determined. Anyway, I'm going to appoint an attorney. I'm going to set pre-exam conference for January 14th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. That's your next court date. And if we do need a preliminary examination, you essentially admitted everything to the officers. It's probably under the category of something that will seem like a good idea at the time, but as we're talking right now, you probably don't even really know why you did this. But we'll try to get to the bottom of it. All right, your next court date is January 14th. We'll appoint an attorney and they'll come out and see you at the jail. Hopefully, maybe after a day or two of for sobriety, you'll be in a little better communication. All right, good luck, sir.
Yeah.
I'll be glad when Luke comes back. All right.
I hate it, but I can see the anger in that kid. I can see that. I've been there in life, so I can see where he's frustrated. I've never done anything stupid like what he did, but I can somewhat see that frustration. Um, Hopefully he'll get past that. Somebody said 2025 is not going to be his best year. It might be. It might be he'll have a place to stay this year, and maybe he can get his head out of his ass and make something of himself. But he certainly wasn't on the right path there. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm heading home in the morning, so Saturday and Sunday will be great. And on Monday we're gonna start doing a stream at around 9:30 to 9:45 in the mornings. We're gonna start a stream. It's gonna last about 3 or 4 hours a day, and we're probably gonna pull it off 5 days a week. Let's see how that goes. And so we're gonna run that. You guys have a great night. It's Friday night, and so yeah. Oh, Critter, I'm not gonna go talk to him. He ain't got nothing to hear from me. You guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you later.